Okay, good evening, everyone. We are starting.
Okay, so we have a very long plan for tonight. So this is the agenda. This is what we're going to do. First, Linesh is going to go over details on the Kaggle competition. Then Gopati is going to do a week 3-4 overview, Gopati and Ilana. Then I'm going to remind everybody how to ask questions effectively. And we're going to do some Spark tutorial tips, right? And questions and answers. So I guess right now I'm going to turn over to Linesh. Linesh, go ahead. You want to share the screen? But
Yes, I do.
but I actually put some details in here to make sure that everybody has this. But Linesh, go ahead and share your screen.
Sure. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let me do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to see my screen now?
I do.
Okay. Okay, excellent. All right. So, good evening, everyone. So, I'm Lanesh Dave. And if you recall from our first webinar we had a couple of weeks back, I had mentioned that a Kaggle competition is going to be an optional component for this class, an optional assignment component. So although it's optional, we say it's optional, but if you complete it successfully, then you can be awarded a maximum of 3 extra points. So think about it, right? I mean, this could make a difference, from or mean a difference from grade C to B or from grade B to A, or it just solidifies your A grade during the semester, right? And additionally, you also get an opportunity to get your feet wet in one of the most prestigious data science competition platform. It will help you to join thousands of data scientists or aspiring data scientists who are already taking part in many Kaggle competitions today. Okay, so before we just dive into the details and kind of walk you through, what's going to be involved for you and how you kind of get started, let me just talk a little bit about Kaggle, right? So what is Kaggle? It's a platform, it's a competition platform that is actually owned by Google now. It's been around for many years. You can call this as a sandbox, where you can practice your skills, and you get lots of competitions out there. There are public competitions, and some of you may be already familiar with it, but if you're not, I think it's about time that you get familiar with it, because once you go out, you complete your data 650, your data 670, and or you may be looking for some very challenging data sets to work on. This is going to be the place, this is going to be the area where you'll kind of come often and work and hone your skills. So with that, let me tell you that the reason we have kind of brought this, and I'm just trying to go to my next slide here, so bear with me. um, I got just stuck here. Let me see. Okay, so by staging a competition on this platform, UMUC joins an elite group of universities and institutions who stage competitions for the data analytics students, right? So as you can see here, there's just few universities who are doing that, and UMUC has kind of started to do this for you. We are bringing this to you, so that you could really practice your skills and get better and better. And this is just practicing the skills that you have learned thus far. You may learn some more in during this class. You may learn some more technologies, but there's already a lot that you've covered, and we want you to kind of start working on that. Remember, this is not a step after your data 640. This is a step before your last course, right, in this degree or certification, right? It's a step before data 670. So use this time to, and we've given you enough time to kind of get acclimatized with it and understand this, and see how you can get to the more challenging data sets. Okay, so Just kind of showing you now just the a home page of this competition, right? Once you will be kind of providing a link, we'll be putting all this kind of information. There will be a short information in a section under interesting and important in section in the discussions area. You'll be provided a link to come to this particular competitions page or the site, and the only thing, once you get in here, you will kind of have to create a login. If you do not have one, you can create a login using your same credentials as the UMUC credentials, like the email, the ID that you have. Or if you're creating one, make sure that your profile name, we can easily identify who you are, right? Because remember, this is a private competition exclusively for you. We'll be kind of monitoring this site. We would want to know, who's kind of, submitting submitting your the final solutions here, right? So it's important that whichever ID that you use to log in here, it can be easily identified. All right, and I'll kind of walk you. I'll kind of take you through this website quickly, and I'll kind of show you the different tabs that are part of the competition. But just in general, the competition is called the UMUC Data 650 Fall 2018 competition. And what you're going to do really is evaluating the CARS data set. A very simple data set, guys. We'll just kind of turn things around a little bit. We'll tweak things a bit to make it a little interesting for you, a little bit challenging for you. But having said that, let me tell you, there have been multiple students semester after semester who've really taken advantage and have gained a lot of they've practiced it well. They've gained real good accuracy here, and they've been they've turned it around very successfully. And so if they could do it, so can you, right? I mean, every semester you learn quite a bit of skill. I mean, a lot of skills, and some things that you've also seen outside. You've been introduced to newer and newer technologies. If you recall, Professor Elena mentioned, I think during the first webinar, like right from the time we started this program, and I was part of the program when it started, to now, things have changed immensely, right? And for good, and all good, for good reasons. Things have changed. Things have been introduced. You've been introduced to all those newer techniques, technologies. So you should be able to really knock this down very well and successfully. And I'm really confident about that. Seeing the talent that is already there, seeing the type of discussions that are going on, no doubt in my mind that you can knock this off. Okay. So just some simple steps. I just drew something here on the slide to kind of introduce to what steps, which is not different than what you may have done in the past. So you've been kind of given like 3 different data sets and 1 sample submission file, right? So to begin with, you have a CARS train data set, which you would kind of use for your model building. Nothing different, right? I mean, you get a train data set, you use it for model building, you tweak the parameters, you make the changes in the parameters, or whatever you'd like to make sure that your model is really a good model that you would take it through, right? Or use it for your final submission. You then test it, using there's a CARS test data set that is also provided to you to do your predictions, right? So you would, once you kind of build the model, you would test it using the test in this particular step with the CARS data set. You would then, maybe based on the prediction, you'd probably go back to doing some model building, some tweaking the parameters, tweaking the model, or maybe even use a different technique altogether to get a better prediction, right? A better accuracy. Once you've kind of gone through that, your next step would be, you would then take in the final prediction data set, right? This is a data set that has not been seen by your model, either during the model building phase or your testing phase. This data set has not been seen. This is also the data set that does not have any labels, meaning the target variable or the response variable is not there, right? So you don't know what is the target or the response or the labels of this particular data set. you would use this now to generate the predictions. And based on what you kind of based on the sample prediction file that have been provided, just for reference sake, you would then create your final submission, right? And the final submission is just the entire data card, all the different cars that are available in the final prediction data set. You would, for each of those cars, you would provide a label for it, and that's going to be your submission file. So all these are like CSV files, the data sets that I've been talking about, and what you see here on this slide here, they're all CSV files. And what you will also be generating is a CSV file that will go on to go on as a submission on the Kaggle website. Now, alternatively, you can also, with the trained data set that has been provided, you can probably even divide that if you want, and then feed it to your model. So this way you use the training data set to really build the model by using some portion of it for your training, some portion for your testing during the model building phase itself. Yes, you can definitely do that if you want, so that you're probably testing it out twice, and that's fine, right? You can also probably use just the cars test. There's a test data set during the model building phase. So you can do this. So this is just some of the simple techniques I'm kind of showing here, what you can do, right? I mean, you can start with the training data set, use it for model building, make sure you test it, and then finally use it for prediction. So just simple steps that you follow with the data sets that's been given. Okay. So with that, I'm going to jump over now to the website, which you would kind of get to when you have the link. Okay, so let me get there. Okay, so this is the Kaggle competition website here. When you get the link, you may not come here directly. You may not see the competition, like all the different tabs, or like you enter it by logging in first, right? So you have to create a login, or if you have an existing login, make sure that you change your profile name correctly there, so it's identifiable. Once you get there, there are different tabs that you can read through. Like first and foremost, read through the overview tab, right? What's involved? What kind of data set is this? We kind of have put in all the information from the source of the data, where we use the data set from, who's the author of it, and what does this data set have in it, right? So there's information about that this car data set, like some of the information like car acceptability, uh, car buying price, the maintenance price, the number of doors, like some technical characteristics and comfort level, like the number of doors, the capacity, the number of persons, the luggage booth, and the safety estimated, right? So all this information is part of the actual data set here, and so we kind of just given this as some information. Now then you'll see a tab, or a link for evaluation, which tells you that this model performance will be evaluated based on multi-class classification accuracy, right? The plain old accuracy, meaning which ones did you get it right, which ones you did not, right? And based on that, you will be scored, right? Your submission will be scored accordingly. So read through this. There's information provided. There's a sample of, once again, an example provided of how this accuracy is being calculated when you submit the file. What should be the submission format? That is also provided here as well. Okay. Now, once you log in, once you join this competition, the first and foremost, it will ask you to accept the rules, right? So there are some very important rules that you need to follow, right? In addition to some of the standard verbiage that's being provided by Kaggle. So from first and foremost, the model building process, right? You must train your model using the data sets that available in the car string. And during the model building process, you may choose to use the data available in the car's test as your test set, right? So we kind of went through that. I showed you, that on the slide. what are these different data files. It's just telling you the same thing has been, just put into words here to make sure that you understand that, you follow the process correctly. There should be only one account per participant. So you don't want to kind of create multiple accounts and then try to submit it multiple times. Really, that would not be, required. That should not be even done. Okay. So just use one account. You would not be forming teams with anybody. You would not be also, sharing your code, right? So the same plagiarism policy, and all the policies of UMUC are kind of applicable here as well. So make sure that, your code is something that you worked upon yourself. And the competition timeline.
WebEx meeting is showing us
Hello,
specific meeting code.
Brandon.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay, you can mute yourself. Thank you. So the competition timeline, the competition is already in play. So at the end of this webinar, we'll kind of provide that link to you. Once again, it will be in the discussion section, the interesting and important section. You will see a thread there, the discussion thread called the Kaggle competition. So it will be, provided to you in both the sections, and you can take the link from there to get to this competition. The deadline is the 25th of November, which is exactly a week before your semester ends. And the reason we've kind of come, we've made this like a week earlier before your semester end, because whatever the code you work on, whether you use R or Python or a SES Enterprise Minor, you would be providing your code at the end, right? So once you make a final submission and you either hear from me or Yelena to provide the code, because the competition would have ended, and let's say you are in the top 5, top 10, we'll want to, see that code, right? We'll validate, we'll verify the code or your SES Enterprise Minor diagram that you would provide, and then we'll be kind of announcing the results. Okay. So remember, it ends a week before your semester ends. The rest of the terms, I'm not going to go through each one of them, but it's just the standard verbiage. But I would strongly suggest that you go through them, right? At least once. Read through those things, and especially the ones that I just mentioned here. Okay. The data sets is available on the data tab, and this is the area that you would go and download this different data files that we talked about. The kernels is not the area that you would be really working on. We're not kind of providing a platform where you can run your code. So there's no this you can ignore the kernels section here. What you can definitely use is discussion, right? I know I kind of mentioned that you don't want to copy and plagiarism, and you want to be careful with that. You just don't want to copy code from somewhere and use it. But at the same time, you can definitely discuss in a general way about this competition, right? About some of the things that you can use or not use. But I would suggest not going to the details of really, helping someone with the code or anything of that sort, right? Just avoid that. Keep this discussion to, the techniques and all kind of stuff. So you can use the discussion board here. The leaderboard is when you kind of do your submissions, you will see as to, who are all the folks or what all the submissions have been made, and then what's the score, right? So as soon as you submit the predictions, right, at the time, let's say you've gone through all the steps, you created a submission file, you would then come here to submit your predictions. So when you click on submitting the predictions, it will show you and it will display an area where you can upload your CSV file. And once it is uploaded, it will score your file right away. In a few seconds, it will come up and show you the score. So as you can see here, I just submitted, just half an hour back, I just submitted a CSV file, which was just an average. This is like a benchmark file, and I just submitted it again. As you can see, it showed me the score right away. Okay, so this is what your leaderboard will show you what your score is, so that you may want to improve on, or you can see what others have scored so far. Now remember, like, your submissions until the competition is alive will be scored against 70% of your submission. So this is just to make the competition interesting, right? So whatever you submit, 70% is validated and your score is shown. But at the end of competition, right, after the 25th, it then scores the 100%. It scores your entire file and shows you the score. It's just to make this interesting, right? I mean, it's just kind of, maybe your score could be really very high, but at the end of it, maybe it goes lower, or sometimes it goes the other way as well. That you may not have scored higher, but as soon as the all 100% of your file is verified, validated, you may get a much better score. So things can happen that way, right? I mean, it's just within a day, the things change, your score may change. So it's just to make it interesting, and just to let you know that this is what exactly happens, and many of the other competitions as well. Okay, so I know I went through a lot. Just one last piece here to mention, because I will let you kind of browse this website, go through it, and see if there are any questions. Yelena and I will definitely help you with any general questions. Remember, we will not be able to help you with any code. But if there are any technical issues with submitting your in this website or anything of that sort, yes, you definitely can bring it to us. If there are any specific question about the data set, you can bring that to us. But we will not be able to help you with the code or with the formatting of your submission files and all those kind of things, because we want you to kind of work independently and get to a point. That's the reason why this is a particular assignment, which you could have probably, if you had been in any class, you would have to probably turn it around by, a couple of weeks. They're giving you a couple of months, right? So use this time, and then wisely also, to see if you want to kind of just improve on your score, or at least get to a point where you can create a submission file. So just go ahead and submit it, right? Just the mere participation itself is going to help you, and maybe get to that maximum. Okay. With that, I'm just going to open it up for any general questions at this point.
I
Anyone?
don't see anything in the chat, so maybe someone wants. I think people are not ready for question. They need to review and then the question.
Sure. I get that. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So,
So
this is Yogi.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, Linesh, this is Yogi. I know, like, you asked me to submit the final cards prediction, but the code and the other diagrams, if I'm doing the SAS and other things, where do you submit that?
Right. I mean, that you don't need to submit on the website. What you need to submit on the website is just your CSV file that will have the predictions. But what Yelena and I will be asking is just your final file. So maybe you would see an email come from one of us to say, hey, submit your R code to us, or send the R code out to us, right, by email. That's what I mean by submitting your code.
Got it. But there is no specific format or template for that to submit.
No. There's sky's the limit. Use your R skills or your Python skills or your SAS Enterprise Miner skills, whatever works for you, right? So we don't have any boundaries or constraints around that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. No other questions. I will hand it back to Yelena. Thank you.
Okay, I need the screen for 2 minutes.
Go ahead, Yelena.
Yeah, but I let's see. Let's see if I can overrule. Yes, it looks. Do you see my screen? It's a Word document. Word document. Do you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Just for everyone, this came by email to all the students of Data 650 and 670 yesterday. It's regarding one very interesting competition, which is named Inform, but it's totally different. It doesn't run as a Data 650 or Data 670. We are just collecting to form teams for a very interesting practical problem, which is put by GM. Very interesting. The problem in the document are all the links. This is totally extracurricular activity. We want to form a team of people which really are going to be dedicated to this, to solve this problem. GM put for autonomous vehicle is an optimization problem. The data, they will provide the data. They will provide also, they are sponsor for software. So everything is totally different competition, very exciting. The problem is very interesting. So please read, has nothing to do with Kaggle, has nothing to do, and just is the same like other students as a team were working in Watson Analytic Global Competition. This is different one. This is going to end January 25th. So the main work starts, the brainstorming starts October 12th. The main work is December, January, where actually you are not in class. So you have to schedule your time, and it's not just you want to do, you have to be realistic of the time you are going to put. Just read the document. It's totally extracurricular, no credit. It's just pride, and if you win, you may get prize not only to put in your resume, but also some money. So that is the thing. With no more, just read and respond as instructed in the document. Thank you. So I'm handling to the next presenter.
So, yeah, I guess Gopati, do you have anything to say before we do the actual hands-on part?
Very briefly, let me just tell you that the next 2 weeks, week 3 and 4, are about how to compute with big data. So the past weeks we covered big data systems like HDFS. Those are for storing data. And now we will be looking at techniques for actually computing with those data. My lecture is already on the content web page, so you can start with the lecture. It introduces the basic computational paradigm for big data called MapReduce, and goes over the first version of MapReduce, and then we look at the drawbacks and move on to Spark, which is the main cluster computing platform that is currently used widely, and it is an improvement on the original MapReduce paradigm. Spark, Apache Spark has 4 different, has APIs in 4 different languages. The first one is Scala. Most of Spark is written in Scala, so it has a native interface in Scala. It provides the fastest computing platform. And then you also have Java and Python APIs. You will be mostly using PySpark, which is the Spark API in Python. My lecture will cover all the internal details of how Spark works, and it will connect the different types of computations happening on the hardware to the different types of commands that you will be using in PySpark. So you get a good understanding of what exactly goes on in the cluster when you are executing different commands. Okay, so just watch the lecture and then you can go over the reading materials. And I would also recommend doing the video on Python. That'll be a good, that'll give you a good introduction to the notebook that you're going to work with. Okay, so if you have any questions, as usual, post them on discussion forum so we can get them addressed. Okay. Elena, do you want to present?
Yes, sure. Okay, so our next piece is, somehow I lost control. I'm unable to advance to the next slide. Elena? I lost control. I'm unable to advance to the next slide. Okay, she probably does not hear me. Anyhow, then I have to try to... If I'm unable to advance to the next slide, my other option is to share my screen, because I have the same file saved. Okay.
Elena, you can just
Huh?
drag and drop it.
Oh, okay,
Drag and
gotcha.
drop them.
Oops,
Yeah.
oops. Where is me? The thing is, I'm unable to drag it on myself.
I can do it.
Okay.
Let me see if I see you.
Because then I'm unable
I
to
see.
see. Okay. So,
Hold on.
or I could ask you to click on it to move to the next slide.
Yeah, I can do that too. Yes. Let me see.
Just click on that arrow. Yeah. Okay. So what will happen is, after this lecture, you're gonna have a copy of the slide, and I added additional information on when the competition will close. So I guess I can share my desktop version of the slides. Oh,
No. You okay?
no. This is slide 2. You have to go to 4. 3,
Alright.
4. Okay, here it is. So here on this slide, I put a summary on how you're gonna ask effective questions, because this is a very important skill in your career. So when you need assistance, you need to explain the steps. What is your expected result? And if you're getting an error, I have to see the screenshot. And what do I need to do to reproduce the error, right? What are the steps to get an error? So you can say something like, I am trying to create a new project in Apache. I'm trying to create a new project to work on my assignment, right? So I log into the IBM cloud platform, right? And I expect to see the new project button. Instead, I see this, and I put a screenshot, something along this line, right? And also, you might want to include what you tried to solve the problem, right? And even if it did not work for you, you still mention. And very important, you have to put a screenshot of an error message or the result that you did not expect, right? Because otherwise, if you say, hey, Yelena, can you help me? I'm getting an error. I'm like, wait a minute. What error? What are you trying to do, right? So, the more information you can provide, the faster you receive an assistance. Okay, so now let's get... Okay, so we're going to talk about the key to success on the next assignment. And as you're working on the assignment, and as well as the rest of the assignment, I'll keep this quote in mind. Procrastination is a thief of time. That was by Edward Young. So remember that, right? Procrastination is a thief of time. So, for that reason, I want you to start early. You want to ask effective questions to receive faster assistance. And you want to, this is important, keep an eye on the question and answer discussion. Because if you have a question, somebody may have asked already the same question, right? Maybe there is an answer already in the discussion. And you're going to follow the instructions carefully to the letter. Alright? And you're going to run the Spark notebook. We'll get to it. You want to run it starting from the very first cell. Remember that you can submit an assignment only once. So you have to attach all deliverables before you click submit button, right? So there are going to be, 2 files? The notebook output in HTML format, and also the answer sheet with your answers to the quiz. Now, as you work on the quiz, it's just a suggestion. You want to keep the answers, you want to keep the results, rather, the output of the notebook just in front of you, because there are some quiz questions on the output. Next one, hint, hint, hint. How many of you have completed the self-assessment during week 1 and 2? Hint, hint, it's there for a reason, okay? I'm not gonna say anything else, but it's there for a reason. Okay, so let's continue to the next slide. So this is the high-level steps of the tutorial. Let's look at the high level. It's a big picture. What you're going to do is you're going to go and log into IBM Watson Studio. You will use your Watson Cloud account credentials. So remember that during the first week of the class, you created your Watson account, right? Watson Cloud account. Hopefully, you still remember what your login is and your password, right? If you don't remember your password, you can always do the password reset. Okay? So then you're going to create a new project. So basically, project is a placeholder for all your notebooks and all your data, right? You're going to create a project. Each project has a name and a description, right? And each project has something called an object storage associated. Object storage is a location where the project's files are stored. Then you'll have to associate the Spark service with the project. You will add a notebook, add the data, and then in the notebook, I'll show you, you will need to add the credentials. So basically, the credentials is just a way to connect the notebook to your object storage, because somehow you have to read your data from an object storage into a notebook, right? Then you're going to execute the notebook code, and you will do there are 6 graded exercises in the notebook that you will do. You will save the notebook output as an HTML format, and you're going to complete the quiz. Looks easy on a piece of paper, right? So, and what I did here, those are some of the common errors, like unable to create a bucket error, right? So if you receive this error, you may receive this error when you attempt to create a project, your first project. And if you receive this error, there is a solution, right? And I'll show you the solution and what you need to do. So you would have to go to the it's in the project settings. You want to make sure that the checkbox to allow adding the notebooks is set. That's all. It's just 2 checkboxes that you'll need to check. Okay. Now, this is another potential problem that you may run into. Sometimes when you add a notebook, you will have to set your runtime environment to Spark, right? And I'll show you. I'm going to start sharing my screen shortly. But here, it's just showing you what happens if you cannot set the Spark, right? The option that you need to see is not available. If it's the case, then you'll have to go back and add. Actually, let me go ahead and start sharing the screen, because at this point, some of you go, what is Elena talking about? So let me go ahead and share screen. Come on. Okay, so when you log in to your IBM Watson Studio account, this is what you see on your first login. You will see the start page. There is more than one way to start creating a new project. In your walkthrough, I tell you to click on new project just right here on the start screen, right? But the problem is what if you are not, what if this is not your first login, right? If this is not your first login, more likely you will see the list of recently uploaded projects. You have 2 options. You can click on the get started here and then click on the new project, right? I'll click on new project and then I'm going to choose complete, right? Not basic, not data science, not Watson tools, but complete, right? Or you could also do this. Projects, view all projects, and then click on a new project, right? So there is more than one way to do it. Since you already have a walkthrough in front of you, I'm going to do a different way. I'm not going to do the same way as it is done in the walkthrough. I'll just click on new project right here. Now what I'm going to do is, I have to name it, right? So let's just say Spark Demo. And the project names have to be unique. So if I already have a project called Spark Demo, I cannot create another project called Spark Demo. So now I'm just going to see that for demo purposes, right? This is a description. Description is optional. And this is the maximum number of characters that I may enter. Here, see this is an object storage. So if you already created another project, then you already have an object storage, right? If this is your first project, you will create an object storage on the fly. So that's what you'll see in the walkthrough. The steps how to create an object storage on the fly, if this is your first project. If this is not, then you're gonna see this pre-populated. Okay? Now, you're gonna leave the rest of it as is, and I'm gonna click on create, right? So what I was trying to tell you earlier is that if I try to add notebook right now, I'm going to have a problem, because I have to make sure that my notebook runs on Spark, right? So if I do this right now, if I go click on assets and I click on I scroll down here and I try to add a new notebook, you will see I'm gonna have a problem. New notebook, come on. Well, the fact that it's making me wait is not a problem, but the problem that I'm anticipating is that I have to select the Spark as a runtime, and it won't let me. See this? Like here, I have to choose Spark, and it won't let me. Do you know why? Well, the reason is I have not associated the Spark service with my project, right? So before I even do anything, I cannot add a new notebook. What I have to do is this. I have to click on, let's go back to Spark demo project. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to click on settings. So this is the settings here, right? And I'm going to scroll further down over here. Now, important, bucket name. Let's write this down, right? And then let's take something like a notepad or any text editor that you may have, and I'm gonna paste this, right? I'm gonna paste my bucket. See this bucket name? I'm gonna paste it for a reason. You have to do that too. Okay, now I'm going to do here. I'm going to associate the service, and I'm gonna click on Add Service, and I'm gonna choose Spark. If this is your first project, you don't have an existing Spark service, so you're gonna stick with the new, and you're going to add, I believe it's a light, yeah. So you're going to do that, but the steps to do that are in your instructions. There are instructions, right? Yelena already created a project, right? So I'm going to choose existing Spark service. Now, very important. This is a drop-down, and the Spark service should appear in a drop-down. So, this is another troubleshooting step that I have in the slide. Suppose that I don't see it. Look at this. I'm going to uncheck the URL. See this? If you see this error message, no existing service instances found, and you know for sure that you already created a Spark service, you want to do this. You want to click here, and you want to make sure that URL is selected, right? So here, membership groups, see this? You want to have the all resources and defaults. You want to have this checked. And also, for the locations, you want to have the URL checked. So I had several people getting this error last semester. Okay, so here you want this Apache Spark. Well, that's the name of the service. Your service name could be slightly different. And now I'm gonna click on select, right? Okay, now I'm good. Right, so this is my project information. And just to make sure, just in case, I want to make sure that I have Spark listed in the associated services here. Just in case, right? So now I'm going back to my assets page, and this is what I'm going to do. Now, right now I'm ready, and I'm going to create a new notebook. I have several options to create a new notebook. I can look at the sample notebooks on the community page and download a copy, or I can start from the blank notebook from scratch, or I can specify a URL and import notebook from the web, or in my scenario, I'm just going to do it from file. So here, I just do it from file. I'm going to click on the choose file, and as I do that, okay, so this is the employee attrition. I'm going to click on open. As I do that, the name will be populated. See this? The notebook name will be populated. I can always change Now, very important, remember to do this. You want to click on the error and you want to select Apache Spark, right? You want to select Apache Spark. Please, please, please remember that. Otherwise, if you don't do this, you would have to delete the notebook and edit again. Okay? So now I'm ready. I'm going to click Create Notebook. Now it's going to take a few minutes, right? It depends on your internet connection and also on your laptop. Trust me, it also depends on your laptop, on what you have running, right? So here it is. This is a notebook. When you upload your notebook, this is another soft check. Make sure that you see this Python 3.5 and a Spark 2.1. If you don't see this, then you have a different runtime environment. You would have to delete the notebook and restart, redo. Okay? So, each notebook is a sequence of cells, and you would just click on the run button to execute each cell. But before we do that, first of all, you have to upload the data, right? So what you'll do, you click on this to open the slide out panel, and now you're going to find your data. So I saved the file in my
Elena, we lost your
documents.
voice.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. I'm not sure why is that. Okay, so what I did right now is I opened up. Okay, Gapati, may I ask, when did you lose my voice? How long ago was it?
I didn't actually lose.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I've been hearing you.
Okay. So now what we'll do is, see this is M-Patrician file. I'm gonna just drag it. Let's see if it did it. Yes, it did it. I just dragged the file onto here, onto this panel. What else you could do is, you could click on Browse and select the file, right? It's highly possible, depending on the browser you use, drag and drop might not be supported, so just click on the Browse and choose the file. That's another option. Your next step is this. You scroll down to here. In this cell right here, important, see this, you hold your cursor here, and at the same time, I'm going to click on the error, and you want to do this, the middle option, insert Spark session data frame. What that will do, it will add the code here. Now, important, this variable here, you want to rename it as 1. You have to rename it because the rest of the code is referencing to it as df_data_1. Okay? So this is what you need to do. This is the preparation for running the code. I'm not running anything. This is just preparation. Then there is one more place in here where you have to change this string here, bucket with whatever you copied here. So this is your bucket name. I'm gonna go Control C, and I'm going to do this Control V. Right? There we go. So here, this is a bucket name, right? You have to update this, and you have to put your credentials, okay? Do not attempt to copy my credentials from the screenshot in a tutorial, in a walkthrough, because it's not gonna work, okay? Whenever you do your assignment, that's going to be your credentials, it's your account, right? So do not attempt to copy credentials from anywhere. Now we are ready to run. Oops. So this is a markdown cell because it has a table of contents and it has a description, right? The comments of what this is doing. And if you're interested, you can always look at how the table of contents is done, right? So now I'm just going to run this. This is what you do. You run the cell starting from the top, and this cell generates output, right? So you have the code cells and you have the markdown cells. The markdown cells basically describe what the code does, and you can add pictures. Well, to add an image, you would specify the link to where the image on the web is, and you can add the URLs, and you can pretty much add your HTML, like you can add tables. And here, this is also markdown. and you want to start running the cells from the top of the notebook. And in the middle of the process, if you change something, you would have to do this. So you would want to go back to the top. You want to go back to the top, and you want to do this kernel, restart and clear output. This is how you restart running the code, right? Restart and clear all output. So what that will do is, all your output should be cleared. Okay, if I go here, see this output it's supposed to clear. So it might be still running, right? Because what I said is that I said restart the kernel and clear output. Oh, here it is. Restart and clear, right? This is supposed to clear. Not sure why it's not. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I can start all over and run. But this is basically, since somehow I selected this cell as in the edit mode, is this one hash, this is a level 1 heading, this is a level 2 heading, and these are the links. They're just basically telling me location in the content to link to, right? So basically, if I click on this, if I click on any of this, like load data, it's gonna take me to this section, because this is basically the anchor, right? This is how this table of contents is configured. This is the anchor, because if you look at the code for this, somewhere, yes, I configured, see this, A, and I put the element ID load underscore data, right? Element ID load underscore data. So when I'm coming here, the code in here, as you see this, on a click, it's going to take to wherever load data is defined, right? So that's a table of contents. That's how it's done. And you have a headings at different level, and you have comments. Well, this could be important for your next assignment, because you'll be adding a comment on what your code does, right? You're going to have three parts in the next assignment. For the second part, you'll be writing the code, and you want to add comments on what your code does, right? So you're going to be writing the markdown cells. Now, but for this specific assignment, this is a code you're going to run all of this, and there are some exercises. Basically, you have to write your code here to address this question, right? And then you need to run a code and make sure that the notebook that you turn in for grade, you want to make sure there is a code here and then there is a code output underneath, right? So when you're done, there are 6 exercises. When you're done, this is what you'll do: is you're going to go File, download this, and you're going to download it as an HTML file, all right? So you're going to submit this HTML file, and you're going to submit the answer sheet, and you're going to submit the, on the answer sheet, you're going to answer all the multiple choice questions. So bear in mind, if a multiple choice question has 2 answers, you're instructed to select 2, right? So there is no such a thing as partially correct. It's either correct or wrong, right? Multiple choice questions are either correct or wrong. There is no partial credit, right? And there is some short answers. So I'm just going to tell you, you should have some visualizations in here. I'm not going to tell you what the expected result is, because we want to see the results you get, right? We want to see the results that you get when you run your notebook. Oh, look at this. It looks like the output is cleared. It could take a little bit of time. Since I'm sharing my screen, it could run a little bit slower. So it also, the speed depends on your network speed and also on your laptop. See, like for example, my laptop is not reading 5G network speed, so you know, sometimes you could have a longer laptop that the network card might not be reading high frequency speed, high frequency bandwidth. So it in part depends on your internet speed, it depends on your laptop, it depends on what else you're running on your computer at the same time. So as you work in an assignment, you want to minimize the streaming that's done at the same time on your laptop, right? Because I've heard some people say it's a little bit slow, but it's not slow because an application is slow. It has to do with internet speed and with other activities that you might be doing on the network at the same time, right? Okay, so hopefully everybody got an idea of what you need to do, right? I'm not going to run the whole notebook because this is your assignment, right? So you're getting graded on this, not me. All right. So is there anything we want to add? Linesh and Gopati, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, that's basically it. Let me just say that when you try to save the notebook for submission, make sure that the figures are visible or showing. You may want to save a PDF copy of the notebook also. Okay, sometimes when you upload the HTML file into the assignment folder, the figures get lost.
Yeah, because as you see, there is a plot in this section. Well, there should be like 3 plots, something like that. Yes, at least 2 or 3, maybe 2, maybe 3, something like that. Yes. So maybe 3. I have to count, but there are several plots in this notebook. Yes. So, anything else? Well, yeah, and I was gonna say the steps are a little bit different if you already if you already created another project. But before I forgot, this is what I was talking about. There is one option in this here, storage delegation. Manage it to storage delegation. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this one. See the storage delegation. Basically, if you, depending on when you attempted the class for the first time, or depending on when you created the first project, it's highly possible that you might be getting unable to create a bucket error when you attempt to import a notebook. If you do, then you need to go to storage delegation and make sure that projects and the catalogs checkboxes are checked. So if you get in a bucket error, right, unable to add bucket to object storage, this is what you have to do. Okay? And you may need to do if you created your first project like in November, if you haven't done any work since November, something like that. Well, it depends. Alright? But if you receive an error, this is what you do to fix it. Okay? Well, hopefully it's clear. Well, you need to follow the instructions because sometimes it's easier to do it right than correct something that was done wrong. Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking I'm talking. Yeah, now I'm talking. I want to say a few words. And again, you say echo. I don't know why. Okay, I need. There are too many details. So I would say I want to. Is echo? Can you hear the echo?
Maybe I need to stop sharing and put myself on mute.
I don't think it's you. Well, maybe. Well, let me share something. You can say these words.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let me stop sharing. Yeah. Okay.
So.
And I'm gonna mute my.
Okay, just a few stuff before diving into detail. Yelena was explaining, which are very important, but I don't want that you lose the big picture. The big picture is to read everything and to understand what is in this platform. Don't just try step by step, do and obtain nice screen and submit. It serves no purpose. The thing is that you really read, you understand what you are doing, not blindly follow the step. So when you start following the step and you understand what you are doing and why you are doing this, that is the benefits of this hands-on assignment. Otherwise, the benefit is close to zero. So what I want to say that you sign for the IBM Cloud Platform, which I'm sharing now, which is the IBM Cloud, and you obtain what? You obtain trial day remaining in your account, applying the code from on the hub. What is this cloud? This is a general industry used cloud of IBM where there are hundreds of services, analytics, database, developer tool. You can explore all of them. So this is for any type of professional which can use the cloud. That is what is the IBM Cloud, and that is your initial sign up. You sign it up and you obtain 6-month trial account for free. And you have access in most of the resources here in any of the category. Of course, I would say keep this for later. Now concentrate in what we are doing in the class. So we are going to study component by component which are relevant to the data analyst, data scientist. And with this purpose, IBM developed something which is a sub-cloud, which is the one we are going to work, which is the IBM Watson Studio. This is the sub-cloud of the big IBM cloud, which is specifically designed for data scientists to collaborate, to have the tools, the computer services, the data, the support, everything like one-stop shop. This is what is the IBM Watson Studio. So think about, you sign for the general cloud, you have this access, but for this cloud class with the same login information, we are going to work in the data scientist platform IBM created and name it IBM Studio, which contain, like for this task, you will explore some of the tools, the notebook. For other assignments, we are going to work with RStudio. All this is embedded here. You have the community link. You have the services. And the services are the one, for instance, you are going to add services like Apache Spark or other services, or the Watson services, which is the cognitive Watson, which has nothing to do with the Watson analytic you use it in Data 610. So I wanted to clarify so you don't lose perspective what we are doing and why we are doing. So here is one-stop shop, which is the IBM Watson Studio with all the services, tools, and data needed. So you also have the community link. You can look for the different notebook here, tutorials. This is actually the right now many of the company are doing this with their cloud. They are building a sub cloud which will make the life easy for the data scientists, and this is one example of IBM. Azure, Microsoft also created there. All they are very similar, and everyone is trying to put together what is relevant to the data scientist. Deep learning is there, the cognitive AI application are there, and we are starting with what is the big data, hot computational tool today, which is the Apache Spark. So this is just the general explanation, and if you have any question, I will be more than happy to answer. Don't lose the big picture, what you are doing and why you are doing. Otherwise, make no sense to follow the step-by-step and get through this. Questions? I don't see any question. Let's see.
Then we start asking questions.
Yeah, everyone can start it. I don't think you can start asking questions to the student because they had just 2 days to read and I don't think they are ready to answer our question. So let's keep the
I have a
question for
question.
later. Yes, who is talking?
So I created a notebook in Spark, the whatever she was showing, and I am unable to edit this notebook. It keeps on. It says running, but
Hmm?
nothing happens. It doesn't switch it to edit mode.
Well, you mean you're unable to click on a pencil mark?
Yeah,
Make
I
sure.
can click. I can click, but it keeps on running and it doesn't stop.
Running does not stop. I'm not sure. Oh, it keeps on loading. It could be the browser issue.
It could be okay. So
Mhm.
do you prefer one browser over the other?
Uh, Mine personally, I was using Chrome right now.
Oh, Chrome. Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't tried in Chrome.
Yeah, but it sounds like a browser.
Okay.
Well,
So,
other thing
Udita,
is that you are the
Yeah.
company. If you are at home, it's okay. But if you are in the work computer, maybe you are blocked by the employer.
Okay.
Yep. At work, forget about it. Well, you might be lucky. It depends on the employer.
Okay.
You might be lucky, might be not. It
and
depends.
also see that it's read-only file or then right.
Huh?
That wasn't so
It
sure.
could be read-only if you're not able to edit.
Hmm?
Sorry, the file might be locked as read-only.
Yelena, are you with headset?
No, I'm not.
That's why we are this way. Please put the headset, please.
Yeah, Elena, what I'm saying is it could be read-only file. We want to just check if she cannot able to edit it.
So
No, she's
I
unable to get to the page, right?
yeah. So I created the Word notebook. Now I'm trying to load the data, but before you load the data, it has to be in the editable mode, right? So I'm trying to get into that edit mode, but it doesn't. It keeps
Because
on running.
it keeps on loading. The page is
No,
not. Yes,
page is not loaded. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. You have to use a try Chrome browser or Firefox.
Okay.
It's a browser. I've seen this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Or you could also add data. There is a data section in a project. But no, I would rather add it in a notebook. I would rather do it this way. But there is more than one way to do it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So question about Kaggle and the project that Professor sent it to us today. They are totally different, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes, these are totally different.
What's the question?
The difference, if Kaggle and something that was sent to them by email today,
Totally different. Totally different. Kaggle is embedded in Data 650. You even can get small credit. The other is very serious competition, but different type of competition. Students work in a team with industry-posted and sponsored project, which this year is GM for the self-driving car. They want that the team solve analytical problem of interest to optimize the network of delivery. I don't remember exactly the problem. The problem is already described. Data. So we need to organize team, and we are posting this for the most advanced student in data analytics program. At the end, 650 and 670, team will be built from both classes. So we have mix, and the thing is you will have to think about that you can spend time during December and January when the burden of the work is. If you are planning big Christmas vacation, it's not going to work for you. Let's put it this way. And if you are enthusiastic of this, you are more than welcome to join any of the team we are forming right now. There is no credit for the class, but there is something which you can put in your resume. And if your team win, you are invited to present in the conference next year, and you are going to receive some monetary prize. It depends which place is your team ranked. This is huge competition. At least 200, 300 team participated last year. So I hope we can have some team to present UMUC in this competition. Any other question? I don't see more questions. If there are no more questions, we are not going to hold this unless Gopati has something to say.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So just start working. We try to do this as early as possible because actually the course, like all the courses in the program, are intense and there are many new stuff to learn. It's not just the concept of what is Spark as a tool to computing big data, to do then involving with machine learning and all this stuff. There are a lot of stuff to learn and try not to get lost in the detail. Read first the reading before attempting doing the thing. And do the self-assessment. All these things which are in the classroom, don't miss them. That is the advice we have for you. And of course, very important, ask the question in the way Elena described it so you can get effective help. And make sure you post your question in the discussion area because it's help for everyone. For all your colleagues in the classroom, maybe they don't realize they have the same problem, you know.
Where would you post the slides, today's slides, under what section?
This recording is going to be posted.
In the announcement, whenever the recording was posted, it will be attached.
Okay.
And I added few notes. I added the date when Kaggle competition is due. I added it to the Kaggle slide. You'll see it.
Thank you.
Well, if there are not more questions, we can end the meeting. I'm stopping recording.